This is general information and not advice. Please speak to a legal professional about your circumstances. Stanford Legal is a Queensland legal practice. The information contained may have changed since filming and may be different in other jurisdictions. Further information is available at stanfordlegal.au.
Hello and welcome to On the Couch with Steve, a podcast where we help you navigate the often complex world of buying and selling real estate in the Ipswich and surrounding areas. I'm Steve Athanates. I'm the owner of NG Real Estate here in Ipswich and a couple of other places around the joint. I'm going to be discussing today, and I'm joined by Zara Simmons from Stanford Legal.
Hi, how you going?
Hello, Zara. How are you? You a little bit nervous?
Yeah.
Okay, you'll be fine, I promise. So what we're going to be talking about today is obviously conveyancing, huge part of someone buying or selling a house. Doesn't so much affect renters, but if you're buying or selling, you generally speaking, you need the assistance of a conveyancer.
Correct.
Now, obviously, you are a division of Stanford Financial.
Yes, I am the head of the property law division at Stanford Legal. So I oversee pretty much every file, and I have my little team, and we work together to get the best results for everyone.
Beautiful, very officious title, head of property management of legal conveyancing.
Yes, yeah, it's just literally just property law in general. So majority of it is conveyancing, like you said, because buying and selling is so prevalent. But we also handle the odd property disputes and things like that. So anything property related, I'm usually a girl.
Lovely, good to know. Now, obviously, at NG Real Estate Ipswich here, we basically transact. Generally speaking, it's 2 properties every single day. So we're obviously selling huge volumes of properties. So for us, not uncommon to sell 60 plus a month.
Yeah.
Now, in your business, you're obviously dealing with real estate agents across the board. What sort of numbers would you guys generally transact per month? How many properties are getting sold?
It honestly changes every single month just based on public holidays, especially. Also, if it's towards the end of the year, people panic and decide to buy property, I've found, closer to Christmas. But an average would be around 30 to 40 a month would be a standard amount for, I guess, any property law firm, especially if they specialize in conveyancing. If they're a bigger firm that only dabbles in conveyancing, they're likely to only do between 10 to 20. But anyone who does it as their bread and butter, like we do, you're looking at 30 to 40 minimum a month.
30 to 40 minimum a month. Okay, beautiful. All right, so what does a conveyancer do?
It kind of acts as a legal representative. You can be a solicitor. You'll need a solicitor to actually sign off on your settlement, but you can be represented by a conveyancer who does not require a law degree. They will still be able to advise you on your rights under the contract. So we read these contracts day in and day out. I highly recommend you read your own contract. Please don't sign it without reading it. But we are here. Good tip. We are here to basically explain it to you. So we offer a free draft review service at Stanford Legal, and I recommend always getting a draft review, a second set of eyes just to pick up something, but we also look at it every single day. So I look for specific things when I review a contract, and then the purpose of a review is not so much just reading it to the client, but making sure that they understand what they're signing and what their rights are under the contract before the process even begins. Okay,
so obviously I'm a real estate agent. I'm selling a house, someone's buying it. Mm-hmm. So as a seller, you need representation.
Correct.
And as a buyer, we also need representation.
Preferably from 2 different law firms, because otherwise there's a massive conflict of interest.
Yeah, well, some companies do offer to both.
It's very risky though.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So
let's say, okay, I'm selling a house this weekend. The buyer comes along and says, okay, I want to buy the house. I'm saying, look, do you have a legal representative that's going to assist you in this matter, a conveyancer? They say no. Mm-hmm. All right. In terms of your advice to them, you said you offer a free contract review. I'm going to draw up a contract. Mm-hmm. Now, until they sign it, it's not a contract.
It's just a draft.
It's a draft. So you would suggest before they physically sign it, they send a copy to someone like yourself, yep, and you'll review the contract to make sure that they understand the contract conditions that the seller generally is basically imposing.
Correct, yeah. And a lot of contracts are, as you would be aware, subject to building and pest and finance.
Correct.
A lot of people don't realise that they need to get in contact with a building and pest inspector and book it in with the real estate agent to get access to the seller's property. They
True.
also don't realize that they need to go and speak to a bank to actually get financial approval.
Correct again.
And sometimes they'll get the financial approval and they'll think that that's the contract condition satisfied. They're actually two separate things. You need to still satisfy the condition under the contract as well as getting the approval from your lender. So my job is basically just to explain it to clients, make sure they understand it, make sure they're happy with it, and then proceed on that basis.
No, and obviously some people have certain requirements that they need to take in consideration. So potentially how long they need to obtain, how long they need for a building and pest clause, how long they would need to obtain finance, and then when they'd like settlement to occur. Okay, so as a buyer, do you get a say in that?
You can make requests, but ultimately it is a two-person deal. So you'll need to negotiate it, and it needs to be something that's agreeable by the sellers and the buyers, because both parties have to sign the contract. So they both have to be happy with it.
And that's obviously something you help your client do.
I'll always say a minimum of 7 days for a building and pest inspector, just because they're usually the quickest entity. 14 days to 21 days for finance, depending where you're at in your financial stage. If you've got the pre-approval, things are looking a bit better. If you've never spoken to a bank, you probably want to err on the side of caution and give yourself a bit more time. They are the slowest entity and we have no control over them. So I always just, when I speak to my clients, I ask a bit about their circumstances and where they're at in the process before they've even signed the contract. Some have already obtained building and pest inspector quotes. Some have spoken to banks. Some have done nothing and they don't know what they're supposed to do. Obviously, my advice then changes depending on where they're at and what they should be doing with their contract, because I've had somebody sign a 7-day contract with no conditions and they did not have finance, and it was a bit of a whirlwind.
Wow.
We did get it through across. They were actually a Stanford Financial client as well. So the brokerage...
Well done to everyone at Stanford Financial.
The brokerage pulled through there, and it was unreal, but it was a very stressful week, let me tell you.
I can imagine. So for someone, say, let's say we'll go to someone who's very inexperienced. So we've got a first home buyer. A lot of time, look, it's fair to say, a lot of their focus is generally on obtaining finance, and they don't really understand the intricacies about what's going to happen in order to buy a house. So that's where I guess a conveyancer is so important to basically guide you through the process.
100%. If we can't help you on the spot, we'll at least point you in the right direction to get the help. Like, I am by no means a financial expert, but I have access to Stanford Financial and I can refer you on to them, and they are experts in their field, whereas I'm experts in property law. So it's sort of a collaborative thing. Like, if I can't help you, I will find a way to help you.
I agree. Now, obviously, I'm a real estate agent. So for a buyer, I represent the seller. Okay. And it's my responsibility to be seen to be doing everything that's in the seller's best interest. So I don't represent the buyer, and that's why it's so important that you need to get, legal advice as to your rights and your obligations in respect to signing a contract.
Yes.
Because obviously this is the biggest purchase we make in our lifetime.
Oh, it's no small sum of money. Even the cheapest of houses are still a lot larger than anything you'll just go buy in a store. So.
Correct. So when we're talking about money, if someone was going to basically use your services at Stanford Legal, which our company, we refer people to you regularly, what sort of money would a buyer pay? Just roughly. I know there'll be some searches and some contingencies.
We're fixed fee at Stanford Legal. So basically...
Boom, yeah, you heard it there, fixed fee.
So it's $9.90, and that's inclusive of GST for our professional fees to act for you. As you said, in Queensland,
that's really reasonable.
It is. And in Queensland, you are recommended to buy searches because debt travels with the land. So we recommend every buyer buy a rate search, a water search, and a land tax search. Those 3 searches are paid directly to that third party, so the water authority, the council, and then the revenue office themselves. They'll generate the search results and let you know if the seller has any debt over the land, and then it's my job to ensure that that seller pays the debt prior to settlement so that you don't incur any of their debt. Those searches, in my experience, they do vary obviously depending on the council. They're usually under $500. They can be just around $300, but it does vary with the councils.
So for a buyer with your searches, what I'm hearing is somewhere with the searches, somewhere between $1,300 and $1,500 is what you would
usually
normally expect to incur.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a good idea. Now, for the sellers, okay, we can't forget about them. They're a very important part of our equation.
They've got to sell their houses.
I love sellers. Love you. Okay, so a seller, how much does a seller pay for conveyancing services through Stanford Legal?
For sellers, it's $660, also inclusive of GST. They won't have to incur any search fees, obviously, because they own the property and they've likely got their rates notices and things like that anyway.
They do. And if you're with NG Real Estate Ipswich, we make sure all of that information is on a beautifully gloss brochure that we give to the buyer.
And it also makes it very helpful from a legal perspective.
It's all in the write-up. Everything's there. NG Real Estate, Ipswich and surrounds.
Yep. And yeah, so the sellers have it a little bit easier than the buyer because they don't have to book in appointments and anything like that. But you do definitely still need the solicitor or conveyancer's help, because if your buyer makes any requests, you want to be able to understand your rights and whether you want to accept, reject or counter offer that request. And obviously that all comes into play during the course of the conveyance.
Beautiful. So I guess the moral of the story, whether you're a buyer or a seller, you need to protect yourself.
Oh, always.
And make sure your rights and your interests are protected. So the best way and the only way to do that is to engage a professional like Stanford Legal to assist you in that process. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so why would, and this is the big question, why would someone use Stanford Legal?
Well, I like to think that we're the best, but that's me being biased.
Look straight down the barrel.
Stanford Legal, the best in conveyancing.
There it is. You heard it here on the couch with Steve.
But no, we are a white glove service and we pride ourselves on it. We basically are with you from the get-go to the very end. And then even after a matter of things pop up, our clients are the most important to us. We have 5-star reviews on Google and we're very, very proud of it because we treat our clients like family. We get what they want. We act in their best interests and we are quite reasonably priced.
Beautiful. Now, the biggest thing that we see, and I've been selling real estate here in Ipswich for coming up to 26 years. The biggest issue we find during this conveyancing sale process is people get very stressed.
Yeah.
Very stressed. The buyer's stressed, the seller's stressed.
It's a big part in both of their lives, though.
Yeah.
A movement in their lives. They're moving their current
they're just uplifting everything and turning their life upside down. Now, as any time when you're stressed and you need information and you need advice, you need good communication. Mm-hmm. Now, over that 26 years, with some legal firms and some conveyancers, we have clients who are literally ripping their hair out because they can't get onto their conveyancer, their solicitor. They can't email them. When they ring, they leave a message and no one returns their message and they just get stressed, more and more stressed until they're ready to pop or start yelling.
I've had clients who have come to me from a different firm because they couldn't get a hold of their previous solicitors.
Yeah, it's really sad.
They ended up being fantastic clients, but they were just so grateful because they'd come from a horror story and like I wouldn't say I did anything exceptional in that file, but to them it was exceptional because because they
could communicate with you. They could contact you.
Exactly. I'd pick up the phone or they'd send me an email and I'd get back to them like as soon as I read it. So it's the whole business, you would understand as well as an agent. It runs on communication. I need to communicate with you. You need to communicate with the clients. I need to communicate with the clients. And then that's the only way it's going to get to the finish line.
And it's a good point because what people don't understand is once a contract is signed, all the requisitions or changes to a contract need to be basically formalised on a contract. What people don't understand is, generally speaking, it's the real estate agents who do all the negotiation behind the scenes. We get an informal agreement between the buyer and the seller in relation to price reductions or fixing things.
And then it goes through the solicitors to cement it, basically.
Yeah. So it gets formalised by the solicitor conveyancer. So it's really, really important that you have great communication. So the reason that you should choose Stanford Legal is that not only are they the best, but they're great communicators and they're obviously going to assist us. That's why here at NG Real Estate, we recommend and use Stanford Legal ourselves. So congratulations on all the hard work. I'm sure the people who are your clients really appreciate it. So once again, we're joined by Zara Simmons from Stanford Legal. Thank you so much for popping in today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Now, guys, if you've got something out of what we've talked about today, you've enjoyed it, you've got any questions, please click the link below. We'd love to hear your feedback. It is really important to us. So I guess moving forward, tune in for more episodes of On the Couch with Steve, and we look forward to seeing you soon.